Indie games aren't just stealing players from AAA games, they're stealing players exponentially, to the point now that investors are talking about it, and it's heralding the collapse of the default authority that much of this industry has enjoyed for far too long.
Absolutely.
See, now I know some people are going to say, well, people have always talked about indie games. There's always been popular indie games. True.
It's nothing like it is now. Like, indie games are probably more popular collectively than, AAA games.
Never been the primary point of discussion. That is something that has almost always been fully dedicated to the biggest games in the industry. But in recent years, that has shifted almost entirely. And now we have analysts that are saying that this isn't some trend. No, indie games are the future of the games industry. Now, there are a lot of...
They have to be the future because it's agile development. For example, whenever a game that's like really big has a problem, it takes them months to fix it. When a small game has a problem, they fix it. That's it. They just fix it.
Moving parts to this story. I'm going to try to cover all of it. It's ranging anywhere from creativity to choice to price on some of these games. But what we are seeing right now is a complete takeover that is being executed by the most passionate, by the most creative, by the most in touch with their audience, 100%. And the most affordable. What's the saying? Time is like a flat circle. Well, today, we're going back to the beginning.
Okay.
But before that, a shout out to Starforge Systems, who did sponsor today's video. If you guys are looking for a new PC, check out the link down below.
So true.
Best PCs on the market. I can say that because mine still works. Back to the video. I find the timing of this to be almost poetic. 2026 starts off with Riot Games laying off staff because 2XKO just didn't have enough momentum to justify the team size behind it.
People didn't play the game. It's pretty simple.
While Hightail, the game that they abandoned because they just couldn't get it out the door, comes back from the dead, gets bought back by its original creators, and then blows past $2 million in sales only weeks after its reacquisition. Then we have Highguard, the investor-backed independent AAA live service game that's player count dies in a matter of hours, and here we are yet again.
What, dude? This was honestly, maybe that guy who deleted his account deleted it because he didn't want any evidence out there that he worked on Highguard. He did that preemptively to get hired for a new job.
Talking about layoffs. Meanwhile, Meowgenic shows up, sells 500,000 copies in under 48 hours, cracks 80,000 concurrent players on Steam within days. And while, this is coming from the developer who made Binding of Isaac, the marketing for this game was basically a YouTube video from its creator on a scuffed webcam.
I made a YouTube video. Look at this. Buy the game. Wow. The game gets 100,000 players.
5 months before release.
Yeah.
This is the story that we've been watching get louder and louder every single year.
See, I just want y'all to see this. All you need to do is make a good game. Like, that's the thing, is that everybody gets focused on the extra shit, but all you really need to do is make a good game, and then you win.
Budget AAA games land with teams of hundreds or thousands, marketing so thick you can't escape it, and then nothing. No traction, no pull. They hit the market like a brick and sink. Meanwhile, indie games made by one or two people show up with zero marketing and just shred the charts apart, snatching the players by the millions. For a long time, it was easy to treat this like it's some fun underdog story. People love to see the little guy win, but there's always been this quiet dismissal that I've seen underneath it. Like, these wins don't matter. Like, the industry is just too big to have any consequences. Like, the silent majority is out there, and they're still just propping up the AAA games industry. And if you think that, you're wrong. Because indie isn't just outperforming AAA every once in a while. No, these players are getting pulled away repeatedly, and they're not coming back, and now we have proof.
Well, they're direct competitors now. And I think the issue is that because technology is a lot better and it's easier to distribute a video game to an audience, you don't have to rely on traditional publishing. You don't have to rely on, going through a console publisher. You don't have to rely on anything. You could just make your game and put it out there directly to an audience.
Not long ago, Bain & Company, a group of analysts and managers working under the Bain investment umbrella, mostly focused on tech and things like that, published a report titled Squeezed in the Middle, AAA Game Studios Must Adapt, where they wrote, AAA video game studios are caught in a pincer movement. On one side, nimble indies are delivering hit games on shoestring budgets, and on the other, huge games-as-a-service platforms, such as Roblox and Fortnite, are pulling players, creators, and brands into their gravitational orbit.
True.
In between, AAA studios are getting squeezed. Executives from these incumbent studios can no longer ignore the hard truth. They will have to reinvent how they operate if they want to stay relevant and secure their future.
I mean, it's completely right.
Indie developers are thriving despite lacking large workforces and financial resources that would come with being owned by a major publisher. As an illustration, their PC revenues grew at 22% compound annual rate from 2018 through 2024 versus 8% for AA mid-market studios and AAA large studios with big teams and budgets focused on making ambitious titles. Even indie's share of total games available on Steam has remained relatively constant, according to our analysis of estimated upfront game sales from Video Games Inside. Okay, so now to translate that into normal human language. Indie isn't just growing faster than AAA, it's growing at nearly 3 times the rate.
Exactly. I was about to say.
Rate over the same stretch. And because growth compounds, that gap isn't just sitting there, it's snowballing. It's becoming the new default for the industry. And the market share here is a savage telling, because Bane could sit here and say AAA...
Jesus. Man. Look at that. That's a lot of growth. That's actually insane. I never seen this graph before.
Grew 8%, sure, but AAA also started with the throne.
Growing massively.
If AAA's market share, which in this case means player base or individual sales, drops from 76% to 61%, that's bad. That's really bad. That's a 15% loss. That's like these guys losing anywhere from 90 to 100 million individual sales. That's essentially the floor giving out from underneath them. And in this case, they're only talking through 2024. 2025 was even worse for these guys. That was a year where most of the biggest budget releases came in under expectations outside of Battlefield 6, and multiple indie games were tearing holes through the games industry, dragging players away.
It's also the other big issue they have is that whenever you make a live service game and you're a AAA publisher, there's like a level of continual content releases that you have set up. So whenever, for example, Eugenics gets made, then the game is a static, it's a static entity. Like, you don't have to continue upkeeping this, regularly doing anything. It's just, this is the game, there it is. So when you don't have that option and you just have people that are just expecting more and more content, now not only did you lose money on development, but you're also losing money on upkeep too. And that's the other big issue, is they keep trying to do these live service games, but the live service model only works whenever there's a few fish in a pond, right? Whenever you have 50 games trying to be live service, it just doesn't work because people are going to gravitate to the biggest ones.
And you know what makes this entire thing that much more insulting? It includes Black Myth Wukong and Baldur's Gate 3 into AAA sales. And I don't care what box an analyst wants to try to put them in. Those are not AAA games in my eyes, nor do I think a lot of players would view those games as AAA either. They are outliers. And if you strip those outliers away, that means these guys are suffering massive losses.
They are.
And the funny thing is, even drafting 2 games into their corner that honestly do not belong there, these guys are...
They're still flopping.
Still getting beaten by indie games. That is just insane to me. So what's causing this loss of players? Why are indie games taking over the industry? Well, even the analysts are starting to see things from our perspective, though I do think their data is flawed. Bane writes, what's fueling this disruption is not a cycle, it is a structural shift that's reshaping the economics of the industry. Several trends are behind it. Player preferences are evolving. While gamers continue to value high-fidelity graphics, gameplay is the most important reason players choose and stay engaged with games. And
this is the big problem that a lot of games nowadays have, is that they're not games. That is the fundamental issue. It's that so many of these games, they don't even, it's like you're not even playing a video game. You're playing like a graphic novel. There's cutscenes everywhere. The combat is garbage. Like, I don't understand this. Like, and that's why, like, I've been playing Neo 3, right? And like Neo 3, what I really like about it is that it's a fucking video game. I get to play the game. I don't have to sit through 50 fucking cinematics listening to a bunch of proper nouns of events that happened before the story I don't give a shit about. I want to play a video game. That means playing the game. Right. I'm back. Sorry about that. Give me a sec. We good.
Bain's 2025 survey, 22% of gamers cited gameplay as the number one reason they play their favorite games, while high-quality graphics or audio was cited by only 7% of gamers as the most important factor. That dynamic has helped level the playing field as game studios of any size can achieve commercial success if they get the gameplay right. See Undertale, Stardew Valley, and Vampire Survivors, for example.
All gameplay.
Indie quality is up. Top indie games rival or surpass AAA titles in critical acclaim. Last year, 75% of the top 20 highest-rated games on Metacritic were developed by indie studios, nearly double their share in 2016. As of this writing, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, Blueprints, and Split Fiction top Metacritic's 2025 ratings, outshining even the most ambitious AAA releases.
And I'll tell you the reason why that happens. The reason why that happens is because each of those games that were mentioned solve a very narrow problem. I want to do puzzles, then play Blueprints. I want to play with my friend, then play Split Fiction. I want to play a good, narrative story with turn-based combat, then play Expedition 33. They're not trying to do 17 different things at a time. What AAA games do is they try to cast a really wide net, and in order to make up for the amount of money that the game is going to cost to make. So they make the game appeal to casuals, appeal to hardcore players, appeal to X, Y, Z, this audience, this demographic, this people, and everything. And eventually you do that enough that you lose the identity of the game and it ends up appealing to nobody. And I think that's the reason why AAA games end up disappointing people. It's because they try to make everybody happy.
They go on to talk about disruptive tech, barriers collapsing, budgets not making sense, marketing not working, and all that stuff matters. Indie quality is obviously up. I think anybody can see that, but they're still missing the point here because they're treating those high ratings like it's a fact to report instead of a question that needs to be answered.
The ratings don't matter, by the way. Like, if you look at critic ratings, critics are retards. Like, again, somebody's a video game critic. What does that mean? It means they're probably dumber than I am. Like, I think that all of these websites should totally get rid of the delineation between critic reviews and user reviews. And I think that user reviews should be the resounding value judgment rather than critic reviews. Critics are like, what makes somebody a critic for video games? How do you define somebody being a critic for video games? It's ridiculous.
Why were they rated that highly? What did they do that AAA isn't doing? And also, I'm sorry, I want to know who they are surveying because there is no shot that only 22% of gamers said that gameplay is the reason that they stick to a game. Like, okay, sure, you're going to have a couple people that are here for the story, the art, music, vibes. Right. I'm here for my waifu, whatever. But is it fun is the actual foundation of these games. It is the entire tree. Everything else just hangs off of that. Without it, the game dies. And AAA has basically been speedrunning proof of that over the past couple of years. For all the insights in this report, the biggest miss they have is how self-inflicted this collapse is.
I think that The Last of Us has done irreparable damage. Because The Last of Us was the first time that a pretentious, obnoxious theater kid in the Western audience was able to make a video game that was a story and be taken seriously for it with Neil Druckmann. And so now you have all these people that are trying to tell stories and they're trying to, create a narrative, and it's all this bullshit Hollywood stuff. I don't want that. That's annoying. It's stupid. If you want to do that for a good game like Expedition 33, I guess that's fine. But a lot of this is just pretentious theater kid slop.
Around gameplay.
That's what I think.
These games just aren't fun. And their priorities are completely out of order. Bain is right that if players care more about gameplay, indies are going to have an easier time competing because that's all they have. But that's also the part that AAA gave up. In indie games, gameplay is the starting line. In AAA, it feels increasingly more optional. AAA games stopped obsessing.
Look at Silksong. That's a video game. This is a video game that you play. This isn't a shitty interactive story. It's not something with a message. It's not a live service community hub. It is a video game, and you play the video game.
over the gameplay and started obsessing over the way they look, over how they're positioned, over the agenda that they're trying to pretend to represent, how they could attract more investors, what trend they're trying to ride. And when you build a game like that, you don't end up building something that people love. You just end up building something that people tolerate until they don't.
This boss is easy.
Back last year during the 30th anniversary of Space Invaders, the game's creator, Tomohiro Nishikado, said that he thinks games are being made the wrong way, and he pointed out
he's right.
This very issue. He said the game development process in Taito eventually changed, and we, the game creators, were increasingly expected to listen to the sales team, which came up with new titles.
The Steve Jobs quote. It's crazy that he's still right about this with everything. This is exactly what he said would happen.
Concepts they thought would sell.
Man.
Then we started game development based on that. Personally, I don't think it's the correct approach. Creators should make a game on their own first, and then they should expand the project larger. That's what I felt throughout my whole career.
Yeah,
AAA
exactly.
games feel a lot like skinwalkers. They just kind of sketch you out. You can tell they're not necessarily the same as everybody else. Underneath, it's just an amalgamation of a bunch of different incentives, a bunch of different people pulling strings in all kinds of different directions for their own wants and needs. None of it having anything to do with you as a player.
And I'm going to be real. Like, I actually think that the DEI preferential hiring stuff, I think it has negatively affected video games. I absolutely think so. Like, if you spend the last 5 years or 10 years hiring a bunch of talentless losers because they're woke, then big surprise, they're going to make shitty games. So you've had all these big studios that have had all these incentives and all of these, initiatives to go and hire people of X or Y identity, and you're not thinking about who's making a good game, because the reality is that one passionate, great developer can outwork 100 crappy DEI developers. And again, it doesn't matter how much work they do, because it's all going to be bad in the first place. Hire one loser, put them in HR, and now you have 20 teams with the same criteria. Yeah, or also hire one loser, put them on HR, now you have 20 more losers. That's more like it. So that's also another really big issue, is that these people I think that they have hired incompetent people, and they've hired people that are just bad at their job. You look at the way that they make characters, the way that they design games, they're just shitty. They're shitty at their job. And so how does something like that happen? I think it happened because of all of the DEI preferential hiring. I do. And I think that very clearly, if you didn't need, if that didn't change who you were hiring, then you wouldn't have needed it. So the logical outcome is that preferential hiring caused people to hire random idiots that are way less skilled and talented than the people that they would have hired naturally. This is just evident, because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have needed the DEI. So whenever you do that, big surprise, you literally are selecting for losers. And I think that they found them. That's why all of these AAA studios are poisoned. It's because they're poisoned with these weird freaks, and you can't get rid of them either because of a million HR rules. So the company is just effectively dead. They just don't know it yet. They aren't idiots. They know what they're doing. They're putting their messaging in games. They do. And they care more about their games being messages rather than the games being successful. They actually don't care about the success of the game because it's not about the game to them.
It's all about whether they think it will sell. Does it look like the game that it needs to look like? Is it going to offend anybody?
Well, I think that really it's not even that, because anybody could tell you that, if you want to sell a game, you should have X, Y, and Z thing in it, right? You should never have, some girl boss with no boobs that's supposed to go out there and save the world by punching everybody and being badass and smarter than all the men. Anybody could tell you that that's not going to sell. And so it's a lot more than, is this going to sell?
Sending the right message. Can we monetize it? Can we put a battle path in it? That's what I think happened to Diablo 4. It's one of the reasons that game probably took so long to come out, is because these guys had a hard time figuring out how they were going to monetize it as a live service. And you see that pretty much across the board with a lot of these games. And I think that this can only go on for so long before the games themselves start to lose meaning, and then the studios start to lose players. Somewhere along the way, when games got mainstream, they started becoming more profitable, the video game part of the equation just disappeared. And
exactly. The Last of Us.
These guys started exploiting these games for profit, let's be honest, it's exactly what these companies are doing. As much as these guys want to come out and be like, guys, I'm trying to make the most creative thing ever. You have to understand, stop bullying me online. There are executives that are above you that are trying to milk this industry as hard as they possibly can, and they don't care if it collapses because they'll just go get a job in another industry. It's what
I think that's also another really good point, is that it's cynical and malicious compliance all the way up and all the way down, where you have people that are like at mid-levels that are trying to put their message into games, and you have people that are at high levels that are just trying to make this game make enough money to where they can pass a quarterly earnings report and then have a good exit from the company because all their stock options are vested, right? I mean, that's literally it. So it's just nobody actually cares about the product. It's just different versions of malicious compliance.
Those do. Watch the path of some of these guys.
Sure.
They are destructive forces.
That's a good point.
But it's no surprise now that we're starting to see the pendulum swing in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Back to video games just being video games. I don't know exactly when it happened for me, but when I look at the numbers that they were showing, this is almost the exact same timeline or experience that I felt where I started playing less and less AAA games and more indie games.
Same.
And while there are still AAA games that I get excited for, it's a fleeting matter.
I usually assume they're going to be garbage.
Once the honeymoon phase ends, I almost immediately start seeing the ugly head of the AAA hallmarks that I've gotten all too used to, and I just walk away.
Understood capitalism via games. It's not capitalism. Plenty of these other, like all these other, you're just, what are you, retarded? Like everybody that's making video games in the market exists in a capitalistic market that we all do. Everybody does. So if you have some developers that are existing in it that aren't doing this and other ones that are, clearly the common variable isn't the cause. Like, duh.
Go back to an indie game. Now,
think
all
about
of this explains why people aren't playing AAA games anymore. And these analysts are starting to figure it out, which means investors are also going to figure it out. That part I don't necessarily like, stupid. But they have all the data. They have the analytics. But the one thing that these guys don't seem to understand is why people play indie games.
Yeah.
It should probably come as no surprise, but I've somehow already sunk over 30 hours into Mugenics, and I don't exactly know when that happened. I just kind of blinked and a couple days disappeared. I haven't really been sleeping all that well recently.
What?
But I will say, one of the things that I realized is how few of these indie devs give a fuck. This is a game about eugenics. It's about trying to breed the perfect cat-killing machine using D&D party and class structure inside of a tactical turn-based roguelike where you can end up breeding cats that have autism and ADHD. The voice cast
they put me in the game.
Literal real-life ideological enemies like Ethan Klein and iDubbbz. The devs actually put Chris Chan in this game. And of course, the second the game dropped, it got the usual problematic treatment. PC Gamer ran the whole entire controversy pre-game. Rock, Paper, Shotgun grilled Edmund
And for Meow Cameo List, the inclusion of people with clashing ideologies felt appropriate. Yeah, it did. And the thing is that a lot of people like the idea of a no-rules video game because they feel like they are getting something that is an authentic product, right? Rather than, for example, they're being patronized to. You never listen to these controlling weird freaks. They have no interest in your product. They have no interest in your success. They have no interest in anything that's beneficial for you. And the only thing that they care about is your video game being a vehicle for their worldview. That's literally it. They don't care whether your game succeeds or not. They only care whether your game fits inside of what they think a game should be. That's it.
Millen over the casting, and his answer is perfect. He just said if he had only picked who he agreed with, he'd be the only one meowing in the game. And
that's right.
I can't lie. That is absurdly refreshing.
It is.
I think that that's a huge reason why a lot of these indie games are taking over. It's not better tools. It's not marketing trends. It's not whatever.
Because you don't listen to these weird fucking freaks that are trying to tell you what to do. And this is a very core concept, is that people don't like being told what to do. They don't. So whenever you have a bunch of journalists and these people that are trying to create a false consensus of whether something is problematic or not, what they're really trying to do is they're trying to tell you what to do. They're trying to tell you you're supposed to like this, you're not supposed to like that, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. At the end of the day, why the fuck would you listen to them? Why the fuck would you take them seriously for even 1 second? The moment I hear somebody trying to tell me what to do is the moment I stop paying attention to them.
Language that they want to use is that these games are being made from the roots again. Somebody with vision, someone making something that they think is cool without spending half of their dev cycle terrified of online drama, politics, trends, optics, or whether or not some consultant is going to try to flag a line of their dialogue. It's two questions. Is this cool and is this fun? And that mindset.
Well, it's also, do my players care about this? And this is a big mistake that a lot of developers make, is they listen to social media sentiment. Social media sentiment, I think that like at a certain point it does matter. But the problem is that if you listen to, for example, a lot of people are angry about the Meowgenics game or Mewgenics having different characters in it, having Ethan Klein in it, and stuff like this, and Chris Chan. You would think that this game is not very successful and it's controversial. These people don't probably even own your game. They don't care about your game. They don't care whether your game succeeds or not. They don't care whether your game is fun. They don't care what your creative vision is. The only thing that they care about is that your game acts as a vehicle in order for them to push their worldview. So whenever you create an audience of people that don't care about your product, don't be surprised when they don't buy it. That's the thing, is that all of those people don't actually play video games. They're just social media virtue signalers. That's it.
Keeps winning.
Yeah, look at Relooted. Exactly. It's worthless.
I think that Nishikado quote from earlier nails this perfectly. Developers should make their own games first. Indie games still have that quality behind them where you can feel a person behind it. Somebody's taste, somebody's weirdness, somebody's obsession, not a product that's built to satisfy 10 different incentives at once. Games like Mewgenics feel selfishly made, and that's not a flaw. That's where some of the best games come from. The Legend of Zelda exists because Miyamoto wanted to bottle his own childhood, exploring caves in the countryside of Japan, and turn that feeling into a video game. Concerned Ape made Stardew Valley because he felt that Harvest Moon kept getting worse. Notch made Minecraft as a personal project because he just loved the loop of building stuff with blocks. Miyazaki, his whole approach to FromSoft storytelling, the gaps, the fragments, that comes from him being a kid who couldn't read Western novels, Western fantasy novels that he was obsessed with, so he just started filling in the blanks with his own imagination. Yoko Taro, Nier Automata. That's basically him just giving his own personal retelling of Evangelion through his own weird lens. You keep going down the list and you're going to realize something very fast. Most of the games that people actually love didn't start off as a market demand. They started off as somebody wanting to make something that they thought was cool. Something that
I think that also, like, Pow World, like, on the other hand, Pow World said, well, why'd you make this game? Well, we thought people would like this game. And they did. The problem is that you have to take an honest approach to serving your audience. And the issue is that AAA developers, not only do they not have any passion, but they also don't even take an honest approach to serving their audience. So that's the big problem. It's like you can do one or the other, but these people do neither. You don't even play video games, bro? All right. You can say whatever you want.
They thought was fun. You know, for a really long time, I assumed that a lot of these big indie hits were just about listening to the players. Like, these guys are DJs out there taking requests, just perfectly responding to market feedback. But the more that I watch it, the more I come to realize that these guys are the ones that are making the call and then answering it themselves. They're not some alien species. They are you. They are me. They're sitting around asking, what happened to that game? Where did that game go? Why doesn't anybody make a game like this? And instead of waiting, these guys are just doing it themselves.
Yeah, true.
And when I start to look at it through that lens, why these games are being made, the way these games are being designed, the success makes a lot more sense. These games make a lot more sense. They're making games for themselves as a video game player. When I play an indie game, I boot it up and I just play it. Even if it's on the first playthrough, there's barely any downtime.
No, that's the other issue too, is that, like, there's not downtime. Like, a lot of these video games nowadays have, like, this massive preamble, and, like, you're not actually, like, to me, one of the most annoying things is whenever I want to play a video game and I'm just being bogged down by systems, tutorials, intros, expositions. It's just like, holy fuck, just let me play the game. That's how I
minute
feel.
movie intro, no long-winded exposition, no tutorial that's keeping me from playing the actual game. Meanwhile, with AAA games, they become increasingly more abrasive and convoluted. I remember when I was reviewing Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and it took me almost 15 minutes just to get to actual gameplay. Shaders installing, updating, restarting, relaunching, agreeing to sharing my data and their community guidelines and whatever else. Then more cutscenes and menu juggling. And the whole time, I'm just sitting there thinking, all I want to do is play a game. I just want to play the game. The longer you keep me from doing that, the more likely I am to leave.
Absolutely. Just immediately let people, like, every video game that, like, I just click start game, and then I just spawn in and I'm playing the game. It's like, thank God. Okay. Like, I can handle an intro cinematic, but, like, holy shit, guys. I just want to play a game.
A lot of indie games remind me of older games for that reason. Over the holidays, I got gifted one of those digital Super Nintendos. I sat down, I turned it on, and I immediately realized none of that friction ever existed back then.
No.
The focus was entirely on you getting into the game fast and having enough game there to keep you. Hell, most of the games didn't even have tutorials. All they did was just drop you into the game and had you figure it out. And figuring it out was actually part of the fun. You were just
depends on the
discovering the controls. You were discovering the game itself, bare bones with context or no context at all, and you were just off to the races. So now here I am playing Mugenics, and I'm realizing it's the exact same attraction. You breed.
Well, this is the same thing with Neo, right? Is like Neo is a game that's made for Super Nintendo. It's a Super Nintendo game that's made in 2026. Yeah, if you jump off the cliff, you instantly die. Yep, if you get hit 3 times, you're dead. No, there's no difficulty option. Yeah, no, you can do 50 different things. Oh, what is the key gauge while there's a damage decrease at the same time that your foot hurts? Oh yeah, well you got to figure that out. It doesn't matter. There's no difficulty. Yeah, exactly. You just play the game. You just play the game. It's a video game.
That's cool, but the game is not sitting you down and spoon feeding you all of the optimal breeding paths. It's not even telling you how to guarantee traits, what stats belong on what role, what the best build.
Pokemon is made for BPD and like basically brain dead e-girls now. Like the only people that I ever see every time a new Pokemon game comes out, there's still the same usual suspects of every brain dead e-girl that goes out and says, "Oh, it's so good." No, it's not. No, it's not. No, just this is, and the thing is that these are the same girls that complain about their boyfriends. Oh wow! So this is this is it. This is a regular thing for you. You're just regularly putting up with bullshit. The new ones are shit. They are. I don't get it.
Is there any of that? You get basic controls, and that's about it.
Digimon
you don't even know how terrain works.
But Power World is better than both of them.
You can use elements, how chain abilities work, or how you can use items properly. The game just gives you a puzzle, throws it in your lap, and says, figure it out.
Yep.
A lot of modern games have moved away from that. Everything gets explained in full detail. Nothing gets left unsaid. It's all in the name of accessibility. Yes. So they just want to make sure that everyone understands the game because they need everyone to understand the game. So they spell everything out. They flatten the learning curve. They sand down the edges. And once that mindset takes over, it just...
That's why I quit Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's because I realized about 1 hour into the game, like 4 hours into the game, every castle is going to have the same mobs. Every mob is going to have the same attack pattern. Every attack pattern is going to do roughly the same damage. And you're going to have to get 5 boxes in every castle. And that's the entire game. It doesn't matter if they're level 1 or level 100. It doesn't make a difference. It's the same game. It's ridiculous. It's garbage.
Starts bleeding into the rest of the design. The game is so complex, well, now they're going to over-explain. Then they notice that they're over-explaining, so now they simplify. They remove features. They remove texture. They make it easier to swallow. In that process, the game starts to lose its feeling of discovery. It starts to lose its feeling of a video game. It starts to lose the sense of exploration and achievement that you only get from earning your understanding,
like an Elden Ring.
Which is the whole reason that we play a lot of these games.
Got hit.
beyond that, the final point that I'm going to make, if you guys really want to know why indie is winning, and yes, I know that I harp on this point a lot, the biggest deciding factor here is price. And I don't just mean that indie games are cheaper so people buy them.
I think, honestly, people would buy full price video games. Like, they'd buy $70 games if they were as good as Baldur's Gate 3, Expedition 33, or Elden Ring. I think the real problem is that the games aren't worth the money. And on top of that, they're not very good.
I mean, price changes the shape of success here.
It's designed
by committee. It makes the difference between basically all of these games. It makes these games way easier to try, way easier to recommend, way easier to go viral, and it's how you end up with indie outpacing AAA at nearly 3 times the growth. Like, do the math. If you bought every indie hit in 2025, you'd be looking at around $300. If you bought every AAA release, you'd be north of $1,600. That is a huge gap. That is the difference between, sure, I'll grab it, and I need to be convinced that I'm not going to waste my money.
Yeah. And also, indies go on sale more often, on average, obviously.
More room for players to say yes with indie games than there is with AAA, and it's not even close. Indie games are simply just better pretty much across the board. Indie games are being made by people who still have their incentives that are lining up with the players. They respect your time. They feel fun immediately. They make something that people actually want to play, while AAA is sitting around making games for everybody else except the player. These games are just better in every single way.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Like, anytime that I see, like, there's a lot of things in video games that, like, if I see them, I automatically assume the game is garbage. Like in cinematics, for example. Like, because this is what I find to be so weird, is that a lot of these video games are made, and it's almost like they don't want to serve what their target audience is. And that's so weird to me. Why would you want to do that? Indie devs are the real gamers. They are. Like, if I see a game with body type 1 or 2, I mean, to be fair, that's mostly publishers that do that, like with Elden Ring, for example. But, like, if I see that, nobody wants to see body type 1 and 2. Nobody wants to see. That's weird. Like, there's no body type 1 and 2. It's just male and female. So why would you ever add that in? Why would you ever put that in the game? It's to appease weirdos. And in my opinion is that if you do that on a small level, that is a mining canary for it to be on a bigger level as well.
Whether it's affordability, whether it's creativity, whether it's even the way they look in some cases. I mean, look at some of these games visually. You can take a screenshot and almost know exactly where some of these games are coming from. But with a lot of these modern AAA games, it's all the same. They all look the same. They're spending millions of dollars chasing the exact same aesthetic because none of these guys understand where success is coming from. It reminds me of this video that I saw where some guy green screened my apartment's background into his video. Flattering, weird. Yes. But it's definitely, you're going down the wrong lane.
I've had that.
I'm going to tell you that right now. I just want people to appreciate how much this industry is flipped. Like, it's completely transformed at this point. Nearly everybody I know, outside of people that play Nintendo games, are skeptical of every single AAA release, but are over the moon for a $20 indie game that's coming from somebody that's a nobody, that's coming from nowhere. But to be honest with you, that nobody from nowhere is a lot closer to you and I than a C-suite executive that's trying to slap another character with a Killmonger haircut because they believe that it's better for audience demographics.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody wants that. Nobody needs to see that at all.
When did you guys start waiting for AAA releases instead of counting them down? You know, back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, people were waiting outside in the blistering cold, in the smoldering heat.
Halo 2.
They were already sold on these games years before they ever released. Now, everybody waits. I was back there when the ancient texts were first written for the Wrath of the Lich King launch, for Grand Theft Auto 5,
so was I.
Halo 3, even further back than that.
2007.
I feel like I'm fading right now. But, you know, part of that is digital downloads. That's the reason why people didn't show up for them anymore. But the other part of nothing's stopping people from playing some of these games and waiting up until midnight until they launch, but that doesn't really happen. We stopped.
I feel like I still kind of do that every once in a while, right? Like, I've done that for video games where I'm waiting for them to come out. Absolutely, I would.
Waiting. We stopped showing up.
Yeah.
You know, if this year plays out like last year did, we're going to see a lot more than 3 times the growth. These guys are going to surrender more and more of this industry at an ever-increasing rate, and it's ultimately going to end up in more layoffs, more studio closures, and to be honest with you, while there's going to be a lot of people, at least in games media, that are going to be mourning that, I'm going to be celebrating the better games.
Thank God. Same.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. Follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitch. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'm going to bed. Peace.
Easy. I totally fucking agree, by the way. I absolutely, completely, 100% agree. I'm waiting for TES and GTA. Yeah, no, there's the video right there. Give it a like. I mean, Legendary Drops videos I think are amazing, and I totally support them.